Yo, what's going on? It's your main man, Rick the Dawn. And this video, we'll be talking about why I believe that Woman in the Yard is more than just a movie. It's trying to say something. This episode is brought to you by, that's weird. It's backwards. My shoe, aliveshoes.com/Don Down One Jelly. Go cop those. All right, so this movie is really deep, and I think it's really going there. So the very first thing I want to say that this is all about trauma. This movie is about trauma. I thought it was going to be a horror movie. When I went in, I thought I was going to be seeing blood, guts, goobles, goblins, all of them. This is about straight trauma. I'm like, yo, I need to go get some prayer after this film. So it's about trauma, and the first thing you notice is that the father is missing, and we learn later in the movie that he dies as a result of a car accident. And it is pretty much insinuated that they went out on a date and the father just kind of had a slip of the wheel and he crashes. That's what's insinuated. But then out of nowhere, the day is just kind of going normally. The mother is going through her depression like any person would after the loss of someone that close. And she's trying to contend with having children. And there's this little dynamic within the movie of you can't help it. You can't help but notice it. A single person or a single mother household, and you immediately pick up on those sub notes. It's a black woman, two black children, no father. It immediately comes into your brain. If you know, you know. But outside of the house, there's this random lady sitting in a chair, and I'm telling you right now, it's so off-putting because in most horror films, they kind of hide the bad person, a little creepy monster, and they kind of keep them in the shadows. This is a quote unquote monster in the middle of the day. I mean, is this the new thing that's going to start happening where they start putting monsters in the middle? It's in the middle of the day and just sitting right there in the yard. Like, seriously, you can't get any more, different than that. Okay. Freddy Krueger was always coming in your dreams while you're sleeping. Jason at the nighttime was always raining outside. This little monster thing is outside sitting in a chair, and it immediately grabs the lady's attention. And you start to pick up as the audience like, wait a minute. She doesn't seem as nervous as she should be. Does she know this monster? That's kind of what you start to pick up. So, she goes outside and confronts this. I don't know what would you call this? I want to say a deity or something to that effect. But nevertheless, we'll just go with monster. It's a person dressed in all black, face covered as if she just went to a funeral, and she's sitting in this chair outside, broad daylight, like nothing's going on. Like it's hot outside too. I'm not sure how she was feeling and all those clothes and garments. But she goes outside and like, hey lady, do I know you? And the monster starts to talk to her. I said, wow, this is different. This is different. It had a slightly slow start, but I knew to be patient. And I said, if I just give it a few more moments, it'll get to where it's supposed to go. And it didn't take that long. It took about maybe 12 minutes before it started to pick up. But she has this conversation with this monster or this deity or whatever. And the deity is talking to the lady as if she knows who she is. Like, you called me. That's why I'm here, essentially. Okay. And then the monster reveals her hands and you see blood on her hands. But then the screen pans over to a chicken coop and you can clearly see that the chickens are all dead. So it's insinuated that this monster lady, even though she doesn't seem like she's moving a lot, her hands are covered in blood. And that she ate the animals or killed the animals or what have you. But she gets really close to this monster, trying to figure out what's going on. She even throws out some threats like, hey, I'm going to call the police. She says her husband is going to come home soon. But the monster already knows that the husband is dead because she was able to kind of scan out the scene. She says there's a car wreck in your yard. There's a truck over there that's got dented. It's all dented up. So obviously it was a bus accident. You got crutches. You're on crutches. So she already know that the father is not going to come back. So nevertheless, there's this dynamic within the household between the mother, the son, and the little girl. The mother is trying to keep it all together despite the father having just passed away. The son is starting to feel like more is going on, more is happening. He's starting to feel himself. If you got kids, if you were a kid and you start to feel yourself around your parents, So he's starting to kind of push back against his mother. So much so that at one point he calls his mother a B word. And this was the weirdest part of the movie, believe it or not. I mean, in a movie where there's a lady dressed in black on your front yard, one of the most weirdest things of the film is how the mother dealt with her son's disrespect. Look, it was many times in this movie I was just like, yo, how is he able to call his mother a B word? Do whatever you want to do. How is he able to do these things? I've never seen these things take place. And a black household. I hate to say it, I just never seen it. So I'm like, this got to be a movie. So anyway, the boy is disrespecting. He's kind of pushing the line a little bit, just trying to see how far he can go. But you sympathize with him just a little bit because you realize that he is feeling this way because his father is gone. So you kind of sympathize with him. But the son is absolutely disrespectful. The son has enough and wants to learn the truth. At some point during this movie, the son gets very upset with his mother. And he's like, look, I'm tired of this lady being outside of our house in this yard. I'm about to go do something. And the mother's like, don't do anything. Don't do anything. I said, basically. So he comes up with this clever plan to go get his father's old gun. And the mother kind of goes after him. And he kind of locks her inside the room. Yet another thing I would never have done to my mother. Like lock her in a room and take the handle out so she has to sit in the room. She would have killed me. So I go, oh, wait. He goes outside with the gun and he approaches the deity. And he's like, look, you have 10 seconds before I shoot. It's at this point that the little monster lady, she kind of shows no fear whatsoever of the son pointing the gun. And while the son is pointing the gun, the lady, the monster lady, she's walking right in front of the gun. And we learn at this point that she has this superpower where she can manipulate the shadows. So even though you don't see her hand touch anything, you see her raise her hand and you see the shadow of her hand, kind of like the shadow above my head. And she's able to like play with stuff that's also, well, actually, no, her shadow can manipulate real world things. So it's kind of a weird phenomenon. But there's a little chime, little door chime right above the boy's head. So the shadow lady, she just kind of like smacks it a little bit with her fingers. And then you hear a ring over his head. And he's like, what's going on? So he's like, look, I want to know, like, why you're here, why you're here. My mother said this, my mother said that. And it's at this point that the monster lady said, your mother been lying to you. You need to ask her what really happened on the night that his father passed away. All right. And he's starting to cry. He's confused. And then it kind of goes back to mom. And by this point, the little girl, who's a beautiful little girl, she reminds me of my own daughter. She opens the door for her mother. And as the mother comes out of the room from being locked in, she is confronted by her son who wants to know the truth. Hey, the lady out there told me there's more to it. So at this point, we pan back to a date that the mother and the father were on before the father passed away. And we learned at that particular point that the mother was complaining at dinner time. She was complaining to the father about not wanting to move to their current location, which is a farm. And the father basically being confused, like, I thought this is what you wanted. And the mother like, well, this is fulfilling you, but I'm not fulfilled. That's what she's saying. And she's saying she feels like she's pouring into the husband, the farm, the kids, but not into herself. And something told me that this is where this movie wants to go, that many women struggle with this very thing. Not necessarily with, the loss of anybody. I don't want to go to that direction, but I'll turn and say, I believe that a lot of women do struggle with these internal thoughts and feelings. And a lot of those internal thoughts and feelings may center around not feeling fulfilled because as a mother, you're a nurturer and you have to give so much of yourself to your kids and your husband and your boyfriend, whatever you got. And a lot of times that leaves the woman feeling empty. But I was just laughing inside. I'm like, yo, does every woman on earth, black woman especially, have this little deity, evil spirit just kind of floating around? Because I be wondering why women be doing some of the things they're doing. And I'm like, yo, do you got some like black figure following you around? Because I'm telling you, the black figure from this movie is talking to the mother like she know who she is. So anyway, we find out that the mother is the cause of the accident that killed the father. And she tells that and reveals that to the son, who appears to already know from the deity. And at this particular point, the son is starting to kind of tear up and get upset. And it's also at this point that the deity kind of jumps in and starts showing her true power. It's at this point that we really understand what she's there to do. She seems to be kind of scaring them. She's knocking things over using her shadow hand because, again, she has the power of shadow manipulation. Every deity monster movie has these special particular things they can do. And then this one can manipulate shadows, apparently. And I wanted to take a 20-second break to just say how beautiful this little monster lady was. Look, it was hilarious because I'm like, okay, the little boy goes out there with the gun and he's pointing the gun. He's like, yo, you got 10 seconds to leave. And then the craziest thing happened that I just did not expect. The monster lady, because she has a veil over her head the entire film. The monster lady did something that nobody in the theater thought she was going to do. She takes the veil off. No, she takes it off this way, and she shows her face. We like, wait a minute. I thought the entire movie was going to be with her just kind of like walking around with a veil on. I'm like, see, that's the difference. That's why you gotta listen. This is why we need diversity in horror films, because this is different. This is different. All right, you got to see Asian horror films, African, Black American, what you got to diversify it. And that's why I was so happy to see this, because it was just different. The monster lady takes the veil off her head and she reveals her face. And when you first see her face, you're kind of confused, because throughout the entire first part of the movie, you see her face through this black veil, and you're getting just these small hints of what she looks like. And she looks scary from the veil out, from the outside in. She looks kind of scary. But when she takes this veil up, I'm like, hey, you look kind of good. Hey, I'm like, yo, look, y'all tried to make that woman scary looking, but she is beautiful. You hear me? Look, some people might not agree, but I am someone who can appreciate African American features or African features. She ain't had no weave in her head. I was like, oh, okay. Her hair was kind of like, kind of like tangled up. Had a little black lipstick on. Cheeks was kind of pronounced. I'm like, I don't know whether to call the Ghostbusters or hit that. Yeah. Hey, you want to come in? Oh, you want to stay in the yard? Oh, you want to stay in the yard? All right, well, I'm coming. Hey, let me go get a little picnic basket. I got a little towel in the house. I'm going to go bring a little picnic out. You want to eat? You hungry? Oh, you ain't hungry? You here to do something else? Oh, you ate some chicken already? Okay. Well, you should have let me know. I got some orange juice in the fridge. You want to talk? Oh, you like to hang outside in the shadow? Okay, baby girl, listen here. Hey, so what you here for? Huh? Say what? Trauma? You know what? Since you been here, everything good. Yeah. Where you get that black lipstick from? That's what I wanted to say the whole time when I was looking at her, because she was like, she's beautiful, man. And I got it. I get it. They were trying to make her scary looking. She had this little growl look on her face. She had the black lipstick on. Her face seemed like she had a little makeup on, what have you. But she was still sexy to me. Sorry, that's what I was thinking about when she was on the screen. But anyway, I'm back to it. So what happened was they ended up running from the deity as she's starting to knock things over, and they end up in the attic. And the chair that the monster lady was sitting in is now in the attic. So we know that she's in that attic somewhere. And it's at this point that we start to kind of figure out some things, okay? It turns out that this deity or what have you is just the inner version or the inner spirit or the inner thoughts of the mother. And I said, wait, is this what all women have? They got this little evil twin that's following them through life. I don't know. I'm like, yo, what's going on? What is this movie trying to tell me? I got to figure out who produced and directed this movie. Because if it's a woman who wrote this movie, I'm going to say, hey, every woman probably got something like this going on in their head. And I'm like, yo, y'all tripping. But anyway, the deity is, for the most part, just really traumatizing this mother. And they flash to this sequence where the mother's sitting on the bed, and then the freaking monster comes and sits next to her. I said, what kind of movie is this? Because it's confusing. You're so used to the monster just being shunned and shot at and stabbed and, everything else. But here they are having this extremely close and emotional bond. And the mother is basically being consoled by the monster. And it's just like, is this what happened to? Is this what's going on with women? Like, are they just like in their head this much? Seeing this movie, I'm telling you right now, it made me think to myself, if women's lives is like this, I want to be a man. Because I'm like, yo, this just seemed too normalized. Like the way that she was consoled by this monster. I'm like, yo, does every woman secretly deal with something like this? Is this why they wear makeup? Because they got this like this little weird deity like, you want to wear makeup. You're not as beautiful as you. I'm like, yo, is that why all the women want to be skinny? Because they got this little deity walking around like, you done gained 2 pounds. You should probably lose some weight. I'm like, is that why? Is that why? Come on, ladies, speak up. Do y'all got like a little weird deity following y'all around, making y'all feel guilty about stuff? You know what I'm saying? You should have said this. You're not a good mother. You should. That's how the monster talk, by the way. So look, anyway, this is weird mirror dynamic in the movie. It's a weird mirror dynamic, and essentially the monster kind of cues you in on what this film is about. Basically saying there's 2 sides to every situation, kind of like a mirror. When you look in a mirror, everything's in reverse, and or you can ponder, or you can hypothesize that on the other side of the mirror is an alternative universe. That's not true, because that would kind of be like me looking at this camera right now because I see myself. You don't see me seeing myself, but I see myself in the camera. Despite all of that, the universes are parallel. In fact, there's no parallel universes. It's just a reflection. But that is not what the movie wants you to think. The movie wants you to think that there are two worlds happening simultaneously. So in some ways, you start to figure out what's going on here. The deity says something to the mother to the effect of, I've been waiting on you to get that gun. Because at this point, the mother gets the gun from the son, who is pointing it at the deity outside. The mother has the gun now, and she's pointing the gun at the deity. This happens just before they kind of console. I missed this part. But nevertheless, the deity says to the mother, I've been waiting for you to point this gun for a long time, as if the deity knew that this moment was going to come. And again, fast forward to the attic where they're kind of scrambling for their life. The mother ends up disappearing somewhere. And the deity comes face to face with the little girl. The little girl is important because she is the innocent figure within the film. I think as the viewer, we're the son. Like whoever wrote this movie wrote the son to be us, because he's kind of looking and thinking the way that the audience is feeling. And as the audience, you're looking at this little girl saying she's too innocent, that's going to happen to her. And you're looking at the mother like, what the heck is going on with her? But she's traumatized, so you get it. But as the son, you're the more balanced and equal, or just the more, should I say, realistic person in the film. Like what he does is what we would do as the audience. But anyway, the mother disappears in the attic. The son has been kind of slapped somewhere in the corner, and it's the deity and the little girl. Okay, and the little girl is flashing a light at the deity because again, the deity seems to work best in the shadow. So this light seems to be kind of neutralizing her just a tad bit. But anyway, that couldn't be true because as the deity closes in on the little girl, she hugs the little girl and they disappear. And it's at this point we get very confused because now the mother comes to and she's looking for the little girl. She goes through this weird tunnel thing, and I guess it gets kind of wobbly right here. But she kind of finds her daughter and she tells the kids, I have to do something. And it's insinuated that the mother has to do the unthinkable, which is commit suicide. This is where I want to pause the conversation about the movie because we have to talk about suicide. I have this thing about suicide. Now, this film is really trying to make people face the monster inside. Like this deity, it is essentially the mother, right? And the mother feels guilt from playing some part or role in the father's passing. And she's carrying around this baggage. This deity is that representation of that baggage. Look at them shoes. Wait, is this the way? Look at them shoes. Yeah, you go get those. AliveShoes.com/Don1Jelly. Look at them. Hey. Anyway, so look, the mother's carrying around this guilty, conscience, and this movie is telling her to face herself, i.e., the mirror. The mirror has this incredible meaning within this film. And this guilt is challenging this mother to face herself, which appears to be this deity, or even face her fears. And this fear or deity or monster thing tells her, you know what you have to do. And it's at this point you realize that the deity is trying to encourage the mother to take that same rifle and kill herself. And at one point in the movie, the deity says, you dumped all your husband's bullets out except for one. Now, why is that? Basically saying you knew what you had to do all along. And I want to take a pause. Ouch, bit my tongue. I want to take a pause here because this movie, in some ways, glorifies suicide. I didn't like that. So then the mother kind of rounds up the kids and say, hey, I want you all to go down the street to that other barn and get some help or something to that effect. And the mother takes the gun, goes into the garage, and you see her lining up the barrel with her chin. And then you see the deity behind her helping her to line up the barrel to her chin. And at one point, the deity disappears, and then they pan away from the mother with the gun to her chin. And you're waiting for a gunshot. We're all waiting in anticipation for this gunshot. But the gunshot never happens. Instead, we see a flash as if it's coming from the distance. And it happens to be the son flashing his flashlight as he runs back to his mother. But we notice that when the mother comes out of the garage, she hasn't been shot. But we also notice that now everything is in reverse, which tells me that the film is insinuating that the mother on one side did commit suicide so that she can come out better on the other side. And the reason we know that she's no longer in her past universe is because everything is different on the other side. When she comes out of the garage, she walks up to the house, and we see that the house has a new name. Before, the house didn't have a name. But when she comes out of that garage after the quote unquote suicide, the farm is called Iris Haven. She comes up to the door of her own house, and now the door is red. Whereas before, I don't even remember seeing the door. It could have been white. But now it's red, and we know it's different as the audience. She goes inside the house, and the house inside looks completely different from the wreck that was caused by the deity in the past or parallel universe. And we see that the mother is a painter. We knew that already, but I'm just telling you because I didn't tell you before. It's a small detail. She's a painter, and there's paintings all throughout the house. So we know that the mother that went into that garage is not the same or in the same universe as the lady we're seeing right now as she goes with her kids to the house in the red door. And the last indicator that this is no longer the same exact place is when we see the letter R's in the mirror, or no, actually, it's not even a mirror. Just plainly shot with the video camera. We just, whoever's shooting this movie is kind of like showing things. And we see that all the R's, wherever they are, like for example, there's an R in one of her paintings. I forget what the name of the movie, the name of the painting was, but there's an R in one of her paintings, and the R is in reverse, showing us as viewers that now we're in a different universe and everything is backwards. Okay, that is pretty much a synopsis of the film, but again, it's deeper than that. This film is about pain and dealing with your trauma, and I hate the way that they end it because they're insinuating that the way to get away from that pain and trauma is to kill yourself. We got to talk about why that is extremely bad, okay? Let me tell you something. The worst thing you can ever do is off yourself. That's the worst thing you can ever do. I'm not sure why this film went there. I thought that it could have completely redeemed itself. I liked it up until that point, until I realized that was what they were kind of messaging. And you got to be careful when you're working with art because art can affect a person subliminally. So yes, it does come across as a happy ending. You see the mother going to the garage, you don't hear a gunshot, and you see her come out of the garage, but you also see that on the other side of the garage, everything is different. This is clearly not the same woman who was in the garage with the gun to her face. That's not her. It couldn't be because it's a whole different everything, and all the letter R's are in reverse. So we know this is different. So what that says is, in order to get to happiness or heaven, because that's kind of what it comes across as when you see her come out of that garage. You see her kind of walking in this more sublime place. Everything is beautiful. It's like she killed herself on earth just to get in heaven where everything is in reverse. I didn't like that because that is the furthest thing from the truth of what will happen to you if you commit suicide. I'm going to remove the YouTube and social media, TikTok, skin. I'm going to just go straight in. Okay? Listen here. There is always going to be deities, demons, whatever you want to call them, in your space trying to convey these messages from their superior and trying to get you off your rocker and making you feel guilty and using your trauma to make you feel depressed. There's always going to be that. Okay? But check this out though. Suicide is the last option. You didn't make yourself. I know your parents made you physically, but I am of the belief that God already knew who you were before you were even conceived. And I believe that you are not your own. Like the skin and flesh that you're in is not yours. Right? And at some point, you're going to have to return and face God and discuss some things. And I believe that every single person has gifts and a purpose given to them by God. God has given you gifts. You have gifts that only you have. Perhaps you might share gifts with other people. I'm not saying you're the only one with that gift, but something tells me, like your fingerprint, your gift, through the manipulation of you, is very unique. So with that being said, we all have a mission and a purpose on this earth. And when God made you, he gave you some things that other people awe at. They look at you and say, how could you? How did you? I didn't know you could. wow, you're really good at? What is your special gift that God has given you? We all have them. We all have them. And people often say, yo, Rick, I love your delivery. Hey, Rick, I love this. I love that. And all they're saying is they love the gifts that God gave me. Right? And I say this, you have a gift from God as well. And you know why God gave you that gift? Because he intends for you to use that gift for his glory, for the betterment of the world. And when a person kills themselves, that is the greatest disrespect that you can possibly articulate with your body. It's the greatest difference. I think, like, on the scale of disrespect, suicide is number one because you're quitting. I don't think that it's a cool thing to quit in anything that you do, especially your life, because there are problems on our earth that only you can fix. This is why I think murder is such a bad thing, because when somebody takes the life of somebody else, for the most part, they're cutting out their work as well. Like, I'll tell you a person that I really hate. I really hate Lee Harvey Oswald. I don't know the guy's name. Whoever killed Dr. Martin Luther King, I hate his guts, because within the black community, we're seeing just how critical Dr. King would have been to this society. Imagine if Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was still alive in 2025. You know how impactful he could be? I hate the gentleman, African-American gentleman, Black American gentleman, who killed Malcolm X. I hate him. You know why? Because do you know how instrumental Malcolm X would have been in today's society? I feel like we all have gifts. Dr. King had the gift of speech. He had the gift of compassion and empathy. Malcolm X had the gift of change. He was able to transform from one to another. He had the gift of knowledge. And we needed those gifts. They had purpose. And for what reason were they snatched away off the earth? This is why I hate it. But you know what's worse than murder? Suicide. Because you're taking yourself out. Now, how silly would Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. have looked if he killed himself? You know how silly he would have looked? It's like, really? Like, you can understand some person being jealous of his power and taking him out. Okay, you get that. You can see some group of people being upset and, you know, a little upset with a person that they might identify as a traitor, taking somebody out. But King or X taking themselves out, how silly would that have been? Now, I don't want to marginalize suicide because I think it comes from a space of real deep hurt. But let's be very clear. I think it's very, very selfish to take yourself out. I think it's selfish because not only are you going to not be able to complete your mission and your role on this planet or utilize your gifts, but you're going to hurt people that's close to you. How selfish is that? You're going to hurt everybody. And I don't think, because I can't say that I know, but I don't think that God will look upon suicide as too favorably. Now, I'm going to quote my mother and not myself. My mother used to tell me this. She said, son, don't ever commit suicide. That is of the devil. And upon committing suicide, you'll burst. No, she said bust. You'll bust the gates of hell wide open. And I don't know where she got that from. I need to check the Bible and fact check that. But something tells me she's on to something. She used to say, son, if you ever kill yourself, anybody who kills themselves, they're going to bust the gates of hell wide open. And I asked her one day, like, what do you mean by that? And I'll paraphrase by saying she was pointing out that you're not your own. And by cutting your own life short, you're quitting life. And as such, there's only one place for you. You're going straight to hell. Because she's talking to me. Because you have a purpose. You have a gift. You have things you have to do. And each of us have those gifts. And when you take yourself out, you're quitting. You're quitting life. Yes, life is hard. It's hard for everybody. Yes, everybody has, trauma and pain and hurt. Yeah, everybody does. But by no means is suicide the answer. Maybe the answer is going away. Maybe the answer is reading. Maybe it's praying. Maybe it's being by yourself. Maybe it's being around family. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's prayer. I don't know. But what it's not is taking a gun and hurting yourself. And I felt like this movie really fumbled a great ending. What was supposed to happen? I'm not sure what person signed off on this. It's a terrible idea to end this movie on suicide. Terrible, terrible idea. Because what was supposed to happen, I'm telling you right now what was supposed to happen. She was supposed to put the gun to her face, and then, the deity is kind of hunched over her shoulder, kind of helping guide her. What she was supposed to do was say, no, I'm not going to do it. And just take the gun off and move to the side and squeeze the trigger and blow the little deity head off. That's all she had to do. And then it would have been way more impactful, because you would say, you know what? Yeah, she was at the edge of depression where she almost hurt herself. But she fought back in the 11th hour and challenged that same deity that made her feel like she had no hope. Why would you not go with that ending? Why would you go with the ending of, well, did she do it? Did she not do it? You didn't hear a gunshot. That was dumb to me. Anyway. Yeah. Yep. I don't think that suicide is the answer in any regard. I think you should, or anybody that's going through that should strongly reconsider. Look, there's never been, and I'm happy to say this, and I'm not saying it as a brag, there's never been a point in my life where I thought that suicide was the answer. You could say that my mother had a lot to do with that. Sure. Her telling me that I was going to bust the gates of hell wide open was definitely a deterrent, because I thought to myself, no matter how difficult my life is, I don't think it would ever be more difficult than just sitting in fire. And that's how I rationalize it. If you turn on the stove, gas stove, could you put your hand over that fire for 20 seconds? No. So you know how difficult burning for eternity would be? In fact, I think difficult is a terrible word to use. How about unbearable? So no matter what I'm going through on this earth, there's just nothing more painful than that type of pain. So I said, no, I'm just going to deal with my problems, because I'm not about to sit in no fire. I'm going to tell you right now, that's why I'm saved to this day. That's why I believe in Jesus to this day. And I got people talking about, well, Jesus ain't real. They're a fairy tale. I'll put it like this, smart person. If I'm wrong and Jesus is not real, well, I just got saved. I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I lived a good life for no reason. And whenever the Lord takes me and flies me off in his little chariot, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be born again in a baby body. Or I'm going to be born again in a little animal body. Or I'm just going to be sitting there in the dark. Hey, worst case scenario, nothing happened. But if you're wrong and Jesus is real, and the Bible told you several times, in fact, I'm telling you right now, that the only way to get back to God is to go through his son, because we're so filthy and dirty as a result of our grandparents, great-great-grandparents, Adam and Eve, long story short, defying God and spreading their sin to humanity. And our only way to kind of cleanse ourselves and get back to God is to go through his son. If you're wrong in that Jesus is real and you didn't realize that, you know what your penalty is. I'm going to tell you right now, your penalty, according to that Bible, is it's going to be hot girl summer, hot boy summer for you. Every day, all day, every day, all day. If you wrong. So I look at it like this. If I'm wrong, I'm cool with just sitting in the dark or coming back as somebody else. I'm cool with that. But I hate to be wrong and Jesus be real. I don't want to, I don't want to be that wrong. I'm cool with just kind of coming back as an ant or something. But I ain't cool with just sitting in fire. I ain't cool with that. So I hope you right for your sake. Because I'm smart. I said, check this out. Hey, Jesus. Hey, look. I don't know what I don't know. I've never seen the other side, but I tell you this. Yeah. Hello. You my Lord and Savior. Come on, you wanna hold hands? No, you good? All right, cool. And the amazing part about all this is that I know Jesus is real. Because I came in skeptical. I came in because of fear, being afraid of this whole hell concept. And I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior for that reason. But boy, man, Jesus is so amazing. I don't even know how you don't. I don't know how you don't know you're real. I don't know how you do it. Hey, I thought to myself the other day. I said, how do people live their life without Jesus Christ? I have no idea what I would do if I didn't have Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is so amazing. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you can ask any Christian how good Jesus is. And you know what? You got to start thinking about this. There are millions of Christians on the planet. You mean to tell me you think a million people are delusional. I mean, maybe 15 people might be wrong, but millions? Hey, Jesus is him. All right, and one of these days, I got to do a video where I'm just telling y'all about my relationship with Jesus Christ. I just love him so much. He protects me. I feel so good on the inside right now. I don't have no fear. You know, he be giving me stuff I ain't asked for. Like that shoe over there. I ain't even asked for that. He just gave that to me. Like, I got people asking me like, yo, Rick, how did you come up with a shoe? Hey, man, I had to come up with a human answer. Like, hey, so, yeah, you know, I work hard. I'm a designer. I like to design. But the real answer is Jesus. He be doing stuff like that all the time. Why you think you're here right now? You think you found this video by mistake? Why you think you still listening to this video? You supposed to have been gone already. This video been going on for 35 minutes. You should have already left. You know why you still here? I'm gonna keep it real with you. I'm gonna tell you the truth. You ready? The reason you still here is because you one of Jesus' kids. And, you know, just like Satan got his people, you know, these rappers and these these people out here doing his bidding. Why do you think all they do on the microphone is scream murder, murder, kill, 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 sex, sex? Because they work for the devil. You know that. Now, me, why do you think I'm telling you the opposite? Because I work for them. I work for Jesus and them. And apparently, if you still here for some reason, first off, like the video. You're here for a reason. You're still here because you one of us. And unfortunately, you're taking a long time to accept. And we need you to go ahead and accept quick. Come on, speed it up. Come on. All you got to do is say this. Jesus Christ, I accept you as my Lord and Savior. I want to walk with you and you walk with me through life. I accept you in Jesus' name. Say, amen. Just say it. Like Beetlejuice. Just say it. Say it. Say it. Jesus, I accept you. Say it. Say it now. Say it right now. Say, Jesus Christ, I accept you. Say it. Because if you say that, your life won't change forever. And then you'll know what I know. You know, it's like this. White or black pill. You want to keep living your life and doing what you're doing? I'm telling you, because if you ain't with Jesus, you with Satan by default. Or you want to go ahead and accept Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. What you trying to do? Because I already did this a long time ago. And it was the greatest decision of my life. I'm trying to tell you. Team Jesus all day. Yurt. He gave me a clothing site. Or a clothing store. He be giving me stuff. Hey, the devil be giving his people stuff too. Nice cars, multiple girlfriends, stuff like that. Our side, we get peace, happiness, comfort, love, heaven. Oh, man. You still here for some reason. All right. So nothing I'm going to say is going to make you leave. I'm just going to sit here in silence and wait for you to go. You can go now. Okay? You can leave. Okay. He's still here. All right, friend. Should have left already. You're still here for some reason. Okay. So let me break it down again. Let me change it up. All right, how do we say this here? Jesus, what do you want me to say to this person? Because they not leaving. All right, so listen. You're one of us. You're supposed to be... Okay, how do I say this? Listen. How do I put it? I understand you probably don't like the concepts of Christianity and religion, but those are all human words to describe something that humans don't quite understand. Christianity, religion, all that, those are words. What I'm in is more like a life. You would call it a lifestyle. I have given my life to Christ and I accepted him as my Lord and Savior. And as a result, I have a job to do. And my job is to combat the operations of the other side. And if you're here, then it's by design. You got to think about something. Don't forget this. You've never met me before, or you have, I'm not sure. But if you never met me before, you got to think about why or how that we both end up in the same place at the same time. Why? How did that happen? You've been doing all this. I've been doing all this. Living our lives separately. And you have to start to wonder, how did we both get here at the same time? You want to know why? Because you're one of us. You should be a Christian. Or better yet, you need to be on our side. And by our side, I mean you have to accept Jesus Christ. Because without that, you're on their side by default. You got to know that. I don't care if you're a good person. That's not going to be enough. You got to understand that God is flawless, perfect, pure. 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 Okay? Pure. God is pure. Pure. Which means we, even in our best state, even at our best, we are still dirty to God. For example, water is pure. Water is absolutely pure. Pure. If you take anything and you add it to water, sugar, salt, mustard, it no longer is pure. That's us. Okay? That's us. And in order to get back to God in our pure state, we have to go through a buffer or filter. Jesus Christ is the filter. And there's no way that you're going to get to God back into your pure form without Jesus Christ. So you have to accept him. You have to say that, and you have to acknowledge that he died and rose. Okay? He rose. And it takes faith, the belief in things not seen, faith, to believe in God. In fact, without faith, it's impossible to even please God. How can you believe something that's not readily in front of you? Faith is how you do it. But it's funny because God is everywhere. He really is. He's everywhere. You go outside and you look up, you see clouds. Who put them there? You know who did it. You see a blue sky beyond the clouds. Who put that there? You didn't. I didn't. The government didn't. You go driving, you look to your right, your left, you ride over a bridge, you see a huge body of water. Who put that there? I know the Bible did talk about flooding the earth, and perhaps that's the water. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But I do know for sure that no human being can create water from nothing. So, how did it get there? Duh. God. So, yeah, God is extremely real. Extremely. Yep. And you're still here. Okay. I guess I'll leave. Before I go, just as a reminder, you should be one of us, and every day that you don't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you are rolling the dice. Because you know what the devil likes to do to people that belong to God but won't accept him? He likes to kill them. Yep. And you're going to need protection. You know, I should have been gone. But because I accepted Jesus Christ at like age 11, the devil has failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and will continue to fail to extinguish me. Yeah. Yep. And you're going to need that same kind of protection. Just telling you the truth. You still here. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can all say that this video is more than a movie as well. Or more than what it seemed, if you will. Don't kill yourself.